Hello, everyone. So, I hope you're all doing well, having a great time, staying at home, and staying safe. This is Science Lesson Class 4, Lesson 3. And in this lesson, we will try to talk about how water interacts with other matters. So, the interaction between water and other matters is the topic for today's lesson. Okay, so let's start. As usual, before we start today's lesson, let's answer the previous reviews questions. The first question says, so this is a review in page 201. The first question says, what is one way to measure mass? What is the way that we can use to measure mass is balance. Balance is used to measure mass. The second question says, what word is used to describe the amount of space that matter takes up? Volume is the word to describe the amount of space that matter takes up. Third question says, what property of matter compares the amount of matter to the space that the matter takes up? Density. That's true. Density is a property of matter that compares the amount of matter to the space that the matter takes up. The fourth one is a critical thinking. You are shopping for cereal. How does estimating density helps you find a good buy? So density could help you to know whether the cereal is made of one matter or several kind of matter. That's how the density could help you. And the last one is a test prep. If a black ball is denser than the white ball of the same size, so their size is the same, the black ball has one of those options. So the first option, A, is less volume, B, more volume, C, more matter than taking up the same space, so it has more matter taking up the same space. D, less matter taking up the same space. In the beginning of the question, it says if the black ball is denser than the white ball, but they are occupying the same space. The black ball has more matter taking up the same space. Obviously, the answer is C. Today's vocabulary is solution, dissolve, solubility, and buoyancy. Solution, dissolve, solubility, and buoyancy. So we will try to learn each one of these words and their definition. And if you want help, go to the back of your book and find their definition and try to learn them. Once again, solution, dissolve, solubility, and buoyancy. Let me ask you a question. If you put a spoonful of solid sugar into a glass of liquid, let's say water, and you start stirring it, what will happen? The result, the sugar seems to disappear, right? Can you see the sugar? No, you cannot. At the beginning, you will see the sugar in the bottom of your cup, as you can see it in front of you. Then after stirring, the sugar seems to disappear. Well, where did the sugar go? Now, if you look at the glass, it contained the clear liquid. Where did the sugar go? To answer this question, you'll have to know that the sugar with the water made a special kind of a mixture called solution. Solution is the mixture in which the two particles of different kinds of matter, in this case the sugar and the water, mix evenly with each other. اگر بینی کەوچکێک شەکر بکەیتە ناو کوپێک ئاوە سەرەتا شەکرەکە بینی لە بنی پەرداخکە پرسیپتەیت بووە نیشتووە دوای دەستکە بە تێکگانی وەکو چا خواردنەوە کاتێک چا خۆیتەوە شەکرەکە بۆ شۆڕۆی شەکرەکە دوای تێکگان لەگەڵ ئاوەکەیە میکسچەرێکیان دروست کردو تێکەڵێکیان دروست کردو پێوتە solution چییە؟ میکسچەرێکە of two different kind of matter میکسچەری دوو جۆری جیاوازی matter that mixed evenly بە شێوەیەکی یەکسان تێکەڵی یەکتری بوون. Okay? So, in the case of the sugar, particles mix with the water particle, as we said earlier, and you cannot see the sugar, but you can tell it is still there. How? By tasting it. کاتێک تامی ئەگەر چاکە جوان تێکەڵ بکەی چیتر شەکرەکە نابینی لە ناو چاکەیە بەڵام ئەگەر تامی چاکە بکەی هەستەکەی چیە؟ شیرینە چاکەت هەتا زیاتری شەکری تێ بکەی زیاتر شیرینە بێت تامەکەی. Another way to show the sugar is still there is if you try to evaporate it. Now ئەگەر evaporation بۆ بکەی چاکە بە شەکرەکەەوە بخەرە سەر ئاگر هەتا هەموو ئاوەکەی evaporate بێ چی ئەمێنێتەوە لە بنی ئەو دەفری کە evaporationەکەی تیاکەی شەکرەکەی ئەمێنێتەوە. And after all the water is gone, the solid sugar will be left at the bottom of the glass, as we said. Let me ask you another question. How solid matters like sugar dissolve in water? How does that process happen? Well, the particles of solid, it could be a sugar, are pulled away from each other by the water particles. So, particle-akani شەکر لە یەکتری دوو دەخرێنەوە بەهۆی چیەوە بەهۆی particle-akani ئاوە. The water particles bump into and move the solid materials, the sugar. بەو شێوەیە شوگەرەکەیان هەر شتێک کە dissolve بێنە ناو ئاوە بەو شێوەیە dissolve بێ. ئاوەکە ئەچێتە نێوان particle-akانی material solidەکەمانەوە لە یەکتریان جیاکاتەوە و solution مان بۆ دروستەکە. Okay, I want you to look at the picture. Now, the solid material, it could be sugar, it could be salt. This thing that actually is solid is called solute. So, solute is a solid material. The liquid is a solvent. And the mixture of both is solution. You can see it and learn those words. Let me repeat this part. When one materials form a solution with another material, we say it dissolves. A sugar dissolves in water. How? We talked about it earlier. What if I add more and more sugar to the glass of the water or the solution? At some point, the sugar particle cannot mix evenly with the water particle. The extra sugar doesn't dissolve, and when you stop stirring, the extra sugar falls in the bottom of the glass. ئێستا وە هەستکە کە چاک ئەخۆیتەوە چاکە دایکت شەکری تێ کردووە ئەو شیرین بووە تۆ وازانی شەکری تێ نەکراوە یەی ڕێژێکی زۆر شەکری تێیەکەی وەکو بڵێ 4-5 کەوچکی ناخواردن شەکری تێیەکەم دوای دەسەکەم بە تێکگانی تێکەمما ئێستا زۆر شیرین بووە چاکەم ئەو هەتا ڕادەیەک ئەو شەکراتوێتەوە لە ناو سۆلیوشنەکەتە دوای ئەوەی تر ئەگەر وەستای لە تێکگانی شەکرەکە ئەنیشێتە بنی پیاڵەکەت. Okay? Some solid dissolve in water, other solids do not dissolve in water. So هەنە solid مان هەیە actually لە ناو ئاوە ئەتوێنەوە هەنە solidi ترمان هەیە لە ناو ئاوە ناتوێنەوە. شەکر و خوێیەکێکن لەو سۆڵیدانی کە actually لە ئاوا توێنەوە بەڵام هەنێ مادەی ترمان هەیە هەنێ ماتریالی ترمان هەیە even if you try to stir for several hours it still will not dissolve in water. Let me give you an example of that kind of material. Sand is one of those materials that do not dissolve in water. No matter how hard you tried, the sand mixes with water but does not dissolve. When you stop stirring, the sand fall to the bottom of the jar. Now, let me start talking about solubility. The measure of amount of material that will dissolve in another material is called solubility. So we have some kind of matters or some types of matter that has a high solubility, but others like sand, the solubility of a sand is zero. No amount of sand dissolve in water. Sand is insoluble. Insolubles is a substance that will not dissolve in a solvent even after mixing it, like sand and water. چون هني مادة من هي كبأساني لقل تيكلا بنو تيابة طاطية توينو هني مادش من هي بيشويق لقل تيكلا بنو ناتوينو بون منا ساند مادة كلقل ناتويتو لنا so رجي توانوي لنا صفرة. What solubility chia? Solubility is the measure of amount of material that will dissolve in another material. So remember, we have materials that easily can be dissolved in other materials like water, and also we have other kind of material that do not dissolve. They are insoluble, so they do not dissolve in solvent even after mixing it. Moving on to buoyancy. What is a buoyancy? The ability of matter to float in liquid or gas. What is buoyancy? Is the ability of matter to float in liquid or in gas. So if you put a metallic coin into a water, it does not dissolve, it sinks. A chip of wood does not dissolve in water either, it floats. These are examples of material that has the ability to float or sink in liquid, which is the water. اگر بینم کوینه که بمه یعنی دیناره که اسند بمه بلام بکرناو سطل آوا سطل لسناو سطل آوا که نتویتو دیناره که نه اکجر آوا که اگر بوک او ماتریال نه که لبردم تایبینن بلام اگر پارچه ووده بمه بلام بکرناو سطل آوا که ووده که چیله پارچه داره که سر آوا که بوله بری هنک ماده من هیا سر آوا کون هنه ماده تریان هیا جر آوا کون اما پیوته buoyancy. The first thing that we will talk about is the buoyancy of a solid thing. A solid object denser than water sinks in water. A solid object denser in water sinks in water. What about the solid object that is less dense than water? What will happen to it? Those things will float in water. Now, the first example is the wood. The wood has density less than water. That's why it floats. While the steel, the bar of steel, sinks. Why? Because this steel is denser than the water. So that's why it sinks. Let me give you another example. Lead is more than 11 times as dense as water. So a lead fission weight rapidly sink. اگر lead هبه لبری ينزجر لأو dense it actually يكسر چيله sink به نقمة به هشتكي جلالات دروس كابت نقمة به اگر بكتنا What about a pine wood? A pine wood is about half as dense as water, so planks of pine floats. If you tied several planks together to form a raft, the raft would float because it is made of material that has less dense than water. اگر رافت دروس کم با pine او رافت لبروی دنسی او کم ترا float به او اتوانم بکاری بینم بوی لنا آکه به مبرم پی. So remember, a solid object, denser than water, sinks in water. A solid object, less denser than water, floats in water. What about liquids? Let's talk about liquids. Liquids also can float or sink. Olive oil floats on the water because it is less denser than water, while honey sinks to the bottom when you pour it into a glass of water. You can try to do this experiment at home. Bring a glass of water and add some honey. The honey should sink in the bottom of the glass, and pour some vegetable oil. The vegetable oil will float on the top of the glass. Use your creativity and try different types of material, liquid material, and send me the result. I'm pretty sure you can try it. It is very easy experiment. So try it and send me your result. I want you to remember that the honey sink in the bottom of the glass because honey is denser than the water, and the oil floats on the top of the glass because the oil is less dense than the water. Okay, so remember that. It's very important for you to remember that part. What about the gases? Gas can also sink or float. All the gases in the air you breathe are much less denser than the water, liquid water, the water that we drink. For example, as you can see in the picture right in front of you, when you blow through a drinking straw into a water, air bubbles are pushed up by the water. They rise to the top of the glass. You can try this also. You just need a cup of water and a straw, and try this at home and send me your video. Also, you will have to explain what are you doing and explain it to me. Okay, so let's talk about the balloons. You know those balloons contain helium. Helium is a gas, another gas that is less denser than the air. When you fill the balloons with helium, it buoyed up by the air and raises. How do boat floats? If you look at the shape of the boat, you understand how it floats. So a boat contains air. The side of and the bottom of the boat keep the water out and hold air in. So look at the side and the bottom. They don't let any water in. Inside of the boat there's air. Once again, why the boat floats? It floats because it contains a lot of air. What about the metal boats? Even a heavy metal boat will float if it contains enough air. بوشي كشتي ياخد بلم نقم نابلنا سرقاوك بشرتي اگر آويتي نجا اگر سي ناو كشتي كان كي يعني بلما كان كي ابيني ناوكي بطالة ابي هوايتي ابي ونيا سو او هواي ولا بلمكاكا لسرقاوك بمينته بيج قلوي كشيوي بلمكا هو كاري يتربقوا بلمكان لسر او float به نقم به. Okay, thank you for your attention, and remember, your homework is the chapter review in page 208 209, and try to answer those questions because it actually helps you to understand more and more about today's lesson subject. So good luck. And don't forget, if you tried any of those experiments, take picture or video of yourself and send it to me. And good luck and have a great time. Enjoy.